as well. I am your host. My name is Danielle Navas. I'm a mentor and realtor here with Texas United Realty slash United Real Estate. Um, our subject for this evening, alternative ways to buy your next house when you need to sell your current house. So this is a dilemma that you'll have a lot of people experience when they've already purchased their first home, they've been living there a while, and they're like, I need more space, right? Um, Sorry, every time you hear that dinging, it's somebody popping in. So, this always causes a dilemma, right? Because sometimes that client, um, they're like, well, how am I going to do this? I'm living in this home. I obviously do I have to sell it first before I can buy the next one? So it really just depends. Some people have the financial capability. If they can support two mortgages with their income, then they can most definitely just qualify with a lender and go ahead and purchase that other home and if they want to and if their income allows they're able to go ahead and rent out their old home and move into their other new home, right? Sometimes and in most cases it will take 20% down for them to get into that next home because it typically is not done with an FHA loan. It's done with a conventional loan, because many times they'll see it as lenders will see it as an investment property. So um, you can move your homestead as well too, your homestead exemption with the county over to that new house. But that would mean your old house would now have regular taxes and not have that discount in taxes. So um, that can be a little complicated for some folks of selling their home to purchase their next one, only because they're like, well, I've got people coming in and out of my house, right? I got to stage my house or clean it up, or there's going to be showings. So I got to leave the house and all that good stuff. And it does cause a lot of stress on the family because especially when they have young children, they got to pack them all up and go down the street or, go to the park or something, come back. And, with multiple showings, it can get kind of complicated. Okay. So, we're going to talk about some alternate ways here and kind of a little bit of the process of what needs to happen when we're needing to sell our current house and move into that next house, and just some alternatives so that way, for those folks that are like, I just don't want people coming into my house. I don't like it. I want to move into my next one and then sell this one when it's empty. So we're going to talk about and go through some of those things. Okay. So, first off, the conversation you should have with your client is to determine the amount of equity that they have in their home. So that means, how much did you purchase it for? How much do you owe, right? And then how much is the home worth? So that's our equity right there. So let's say for instance that somebody bought a $200,000 house at some point, right? And they put their 3.5% down, which is about 7,000, right? So they were financing 193,000 for 30 years. But throughout the time that they've been living there, they have been paying it down, right? So let's say that they only owe, for example, 180 on it, okay, 180,000. But let's say now that they've been living in that house for these past, let's say 10 years or so, that $200,000 house is now worth $50,000, for example. Okay, I'm sorry, $250,000, right? So, and that's because that's what real estate does. It appreciates in value as time progresses. Okay. There's never a point unless the house is beginning to fall down, right? But if the house is in the same good condition, what it will naturally do is appreciate in value by simply being there. Okay. Even without doing upgrades and all those other things. And now, if you add those upgrades, obviously it's going to be more. But just naturally, the property is going to appreciate over time. So let's say, right, so they owe 180,000, and then their sales price that they can sell the property at is now at 250,000. So that's $70,000 worth of equity that they can pull out of their home that they can use towards another home. So we could essentially, that client essentially, depending on what happens with their lender or what happens with financing and so on and so forth, how much equity is there, right? they could essentially grab that $70,000 and move it towards a bigger, better, nicer, prettier house if that's so what they desire. And there's a high likelihood that that new house is going to have the old house payment, but it's going to be a bigger, better, nicer, prettier house, right? And so that's the goal in kind of developing how they mention generational wealth, even, right? So, and this can actually be put towards, I mean, do it again, right? Wait another 10 years. That house has now built up more equity, the next house that you purchased, and you can then grab that money and move it towards another home, right? Um, and before you know it, we're in a mansion, but we're paying the very first house payment, right? So essentially, that's what could be done with the equity that's in your home, right? So, but let's say that we want to use this equity, right, to buy that next house, just the next house. Let's move on to that next step, right? Get something a little bit bigger than what we're living in. So, your client, if for some reason the amount of equity does not cover the entire amount of the next house, right? Then they will need to uh, talk to a lender, okay, and see if they qualify for a mortgage loan. So we don't want to put their house on the market until we know that they can actually qualify for a mortgage loan. And this will be true for other programs that I'm talking about. This will be necessary that they find out, can they qualify for a mortgage loan? So, and what they'll need to ask that mortgage lender is the sale of this current home contingent on buying the next home? Okay. So that means, do we have to sell our old house to buy our new house, or can we just buy our new house, right? So that's a question that you'll have to talk to the lender about. And a lot of that will depend on your monthly or your income that you're receiving, right? And that'll also help you determine, they'll let you know how much house you can buy based on how much money you're going to put down as well, too. Okay. So you'll need to talk to a lender about that. An alternative way for us to grab that equity out of our home and move it into the next one. So there's what's called a bridge loan, and a bridge loan will allow you to pull some of the equity from your current home, which I will later refer to as your old home, and then move that over to your next home. Okay. So what essentially happens is that a bridge loan is company is going to go ahead and purchase that home for you, and then they'll hold on to it for a short period of time. And then they want you to go ahead and sell your current home. Okay. Um, so they give you, let's use an example. So for example, let's say that you have a home that is paid off. Okay. And let's say that it's $200,000 that that home could essentially sell for. Okay. Um, Now the company will likely give you let's say for example, $140,000 for you to put towards your next home. Okay. If you want to add more to that, you can. But that's how much they're going to give you initially. You will then move all your stuff from your current old home, let's refer to it as old home, into the new home. All right, get all your stuff moved in and everything. And then you'll put your old home that would do your repairs and all that good stuff, and you'll put that home on the market and you'll sell that home. And once you sell that home, that bridge loan company is going to release the remaining amount that is owed to you. Obviously it was 140,000, you would have $60,000 left over because it was a total of 200,000. Now they will eliminate for their fees, and they will deduct for like your realtor fees and stuff like that from when you're selling that home. So it may not come out to that whole 60,000 as your second installment. You're probably looking at something more at like 45,000 or something like that, just depending. Okay. And of course, title fees, if you owe taxes, all that good stuff. So there's some variables in there of what's owed, right? Um, so you as the seller, you're still in charge of the transaction. Give me 1 second. Let me take a drink real quick. I was afraid I was about to start coughing. So you're still the seller and you're still in charge of the sell to the end buyer. So essentially, the bridge loan company is purchasing and kind of putting the house in a reserve for you and purchasing that home temporarily. and giving you a portion of that equity. So you as the seller would still put your house on the market, still use your realtor, and get your price. So let's say for some reason, right, your realtor was able to get you 210,000, right? Totally fine. You'll still get that now 70,000 that was left over that belongs to you. Excuse me. And you can grab and so you would keep that money additionally. Okay. You're still in charge of the terms between you and that end buyer as well too, as the seller. So the bridge loans do charge a fee, right? Nobody's doing nothing for free. Nobody's doing anybody any favors. There is a company that I'll share with you, and what they charge, for example, is 1.9% of whatever the sales price is of the most expensive home. So if you're downsizing, then if the most expensive property was your old home, they're going to go off of that sales price. If the next house you're buying is more expensive, then they're going to go off of that sales price. So typically, let's say 1.9% on a $300,000 home is approximately 5,700. Okay. And that's their fee of what they're charging. I have seen the fee, up to 2.5%. So a person may want to go ahead and shop around. A client may want to shop around a little bit for the bridge loan, just depending on the fees that they're charging. But what's great about this, it allows you to move that equity over to that new house and then allows you, once you get that second installment, you'll have some money in your pocket as well too. So that way you get to enjoy some of your equity as well. And so it's a great way to not have people coming in and out of your house when you're trying to sell it. It allows you to move over, get all your stuff done, and then get this done as well too. So this would be accompanied with a traditional mortgage loan. You still have to have a traditional lender. The bridge loan is something that's going and coinciding with that traditional mortgage loan. Okay. So just to share a company with you, Up Equity is a bridge loan company, and that's their information as well too. If you want to check out their website, um, give them, they are the ones that currently they are offering, or their pricing is 1.9%. Um, they're very transparent in my experience with them. Um, Good service. They will require to have a survey. They will be doing an inspection. Um, and they will ask for some repairs. They do expect for you to put the house on the market 2 weeks after you've closed on your new house. And so you're going to close, for example, with this bridge loan company first. Let's say you close with them on a Monday, and then next day or later on throughout the week, you can close on your new house because the money is going to drop into your bank account. Your lender will be able to see that, and then you'll be able to purchase that next house and close on that next house. So, um, that's one of those companies there. So, let me also share with you another alternative. So, you can rent your next house and then buy it later on. So, um, what happens is that the next home is purchased by this company that you choose, which I'm going to share with you a few couple names of the companies. And many times it's purchased cash. So for example, one of these companies is called Ribbon, and that's something exactly what they do. So let's say, for example, that you want to purchase your next home, and maybe something even happens throughout the transaction, and maybe you're not able to close on the deal for some reason. Something happened. Maybe even somebody got laid off from work or something, right? And they don't know how we have these folks that uh, their jobs and they get laid off in the power plant industry and things like that. The oil industry. Sometimes they have different projects, and I've had that experience. Like we're literally a few days before closing, and they got laid off, and they don't know when they're going to start their next job. So essentially, Ribbon would swoop on in and purchase the property cash last minute and make it all work out, right? They're going to hold it for a while, and then when you get back in this, back everything back in gear and get all your ducks in a row again, you can go ahead and purchase the property from them through a traditional mortgage. Okay. During that time, it does allow you to go ahead and move in, and what you'll be doing is paying rent. Okay. So obviously they do charge a fee as well too for their service. And then however many months you live there, you're paying rent as well too, right? Typically they give you up to 6 months or so. If you need more time, they'll work with you for more time. But it does give you a chance to sell your old house, right? So you moved into that new house, you're all, comfortable in there. You're able to fix the repairs of your old house, get all your stuff out of the old house, put it on the market. But I would say hurry up and sell that old house because you're paying rent on the new house and you want to get that financed traditionally. So this will allow you to pull out all the equity of your home because you put your house on the market, you've sold it for top dollar, all that good stuff. You've grabbed that equity, all that money that's yours. And if you want to put all of that towards that next house when you finance it traditional, you can most definitely do that. So, but I still say, I mean, you're kind of still paying a fee, right? Because you're paying that rent, but there's a price for convenience as well too. So this is still a great alternative for people to get into that next house while they still need to sell their old house. So typically what is needed in this kind of program is your client would need to qualify for a mortgage loan. Okay. Um, and in most cases, that's what they need you to do is qualify for a mortgage loan. And really all they're asking for is a pre-approval letter. And then they will contact that lender and say, hey, have you fully checked these folks out? Did you get all their documents and look through everything and all that good stuff? Okay. So, Ribbon Home has actually just been bought out by Easy Knock, but you can still check them out. They're doing the same thing. Um, and one website will essentially lead you to the other. But Google them and find out more about it. I think it's a great alternative. Like I said, it's an answer when somebody needs one, right? Especially if they're in a time crunch and they need to get moving and all that good stuff and the inconveniences that come with selling your current home. So a couple other alternatives are Divvy Homes and Home Partners of America. They essentially do the same thing. So those are really more like rent to own. So those two companies really want you to stay in the home about a year. They don't require that pre-approval letter. You could essentially just be a renter. I think it's great for people that maybe do qualify. They just don't know if that's exactly where they want to live or not. They really love the house. They didn't want to lose it. They wanted to move their stuff into there. And what's great is that they get to try it out before they actually commit. But the goal is essentially with Divvy Homes and with Home Partners of America is that they either want you at the end of the day, right, is they want you to finance the home traditionally and take it out of their name. So, and how they do that is typically they have you sign a year lease. After that year lease, they will raise the rent a little. I've noticed it's maybe about $50, but mind you, $50 per each year. And some of them, like Home Partners of America, only let you get to 5 years. And then they say, oh, well, I'm sorry, you need to make a decision. You either need to, finance it or, get out, right? But it's because the goal is to get you to buy the home, right? So, but it works for them too because they're making money off the rent, right? And the client gets what they need or want at that moment as well too, and they're not really committed to having to purchase that home. So, and there is a portion of the rents that they're paying that does go towards their transaction as well too. So, but you can check out both of those, but those are a little bit more long term. And like I said, a minimum of a year versus like the Easy Knock Ribbon. They're more like try and get this done in 6 months, hurry up and sell your house so you can finance this traditionally. Okay. Questions? I know it's a lot of information. Does anybody have any
Bridge loan,
questions?
folks. Now, are you saying that the bridge loan example is going to be somebody like Ribbon, Knock, Easy Knock? Or no?
Well, they essentially are doing two different things. So the bridge loan is meant for you to finance traditionally initially, and then like Ribbon and the Easy Knock, they are moving to the home. Don't we don't have to start with your lender. You don't have to go through that. Now, do we need you to qualify and show a pre-approval letter? Yes, but we do not need you to actually go through the loan process at this moment. Once you sell your house, you will go through the loan process at that time. And the bridge loan is like you go through that process right now, and we give you a portion towards that right now.
So
So
they
you,
really are a lender, kind of like, I mean, they are maybe an investor, lender, whatever you want to call them.
yeah, yeah. hmm and they're, taking on some risk of buying your house. Mind you, they're smart about it though. Obviously, even though your house is worth 200,000, they're only giving you 140, right? So they're
So,
leaving
so,
that cushion
so
there
when you say when they're giving you 140, okay, so,
of your first
uh,
installment.
they're just basically giving you some free cash right now to be able to put towards a house that you're trying to get. I mean, this is trying to get,
Correct,
for the convenience factor, right?
correct,
That they need to sell a house before they get into a new house.
right.
So, and so then when we put the house on the market, let's just say we are putting that house on the market for 250.
Mhm.
And so whatever we sell it for, they're going to, they're going to give us the rest of the money minus their fee,
Correct,
of course. But you're
correct.
saying their charge is still going to be 1.9% of the new house, right?
Well, whichever house costs more. So if you
Mhm.
sold this old house at 250, but you moved into a $200,000 house, well, then they're going to go off of the 250 sales price because that one's higher, even though it's your old house.
Wow.
So it just
Well,
whatever house price is highest.
hmm,
Hmm
it's crazy, isn't it? I mean,
I know, right?
I mean, I think it's crazy because yeah, I've got a client who's probably got a house worth 200, maybe 250. And then if, they're looking for something in the 400s, well, they're going to be paying a fee on the 400s.
Right,
Uh,
right.
So, I mean, but these
So yeah.
people, so this bridge loan company doesn't really have, they don't have anything to do with the loan itself, or are they the ones who are actually doing the loan for the new house?
No, they are not a mortgage lender. The bridge loan is not a mortgage
Okay.
lender. Some
Uh,
may double
okay.
dip in that way. Like Up
Okay.
Equity at one point, they did offer loans and then they stopped, and then all they're doing is the Up Equity. So I think it was a question of them being biased in the transaction, because they were, for example, giving a discount if you use their lender versus using your preferred lender.
Hmm.
But see, then that can cause some issues, right? And
Legal
possibly some
issues, yeah.
legal issues, right? So they went ahead and said, you pick your own lender, whoever you want, and then we're gonna, coordinate with them and send over, work this transaction of pulling the equity out of your current home, depositing that into your bank account, letting your traditional lender know that, hey, this is what we're doing, and they're communicating. But essentially, they're kind of two different companies just working side by side. Hmm
Hmm. So, I
hmm
mean, how do you really recommend that for people? I mean, so like if you were to go and just do a chart and say, okay, this is what this company charges. This is, I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, I don't know exactly. I know I've dealt with Divvy for a little while, but I didn't really secure somebody with a transaction with them. I had one client, but they weren't able to buy in the end. So, and decided against it. But like if you were to create to say next this company versus this company versus, hey, let me just go ahead and sell the house and then let me rent an apartment for a year. Um,
Well, then renting an apartment for a year, you way more than spent that convenience money.
well, that's true too.
Because,
Apartments are going to be,
yeah, because see, if I even do that $400,000 house, and I do the 1.9%, that's 7,600. So, I mean, even if, you
Mhm.
went and got an apartment, I don't know how small your apartment is, right? I
Yeah,
don't know if you're
right.
like a single person, right? But
Right.
chances are you're probably spending about
Mhm.
$1,500 a month times 12 months. And
Yeah,
that's,
a minimum of 12,000 a year, easy, yeah,
and that's like eighteen
or
thousand
more.
dollars or something there,
Yeah, or
So
yeah, I got it, got it.
I mean, essentially it's worth the convenience versus you just sitting there renting, if you ask me.
Mhm. Right, right.
There's a price for convenience. Me personally, I think that it's worth it, but because I'm a person that I don't want people coming in and out of my house. And, I've got to leave, I've got to, put on the incense. Did you turn on the lights? Is everything staged right? Did they go through my stuff? Did they open my drawers? It can create a lot of anxiety for folks. And then I know I've had the experience where they're like, I parked down the street so I could still see the house, and they never showed up. And I had to, rearrange my whole evening and, all just the inconveniences that it is. There are just some folks that I think it's worth the money. But personally, out of the bridge loan and out of using something like Ribbon, I would definitely say that I would more recommend the bridge loan versus using Ribbon, only because, mind you, the rent that you're paying there with Ribbon, and you're paying that per each month. So, in addition to the fee that they're charging.
Right.
But if for some reason at the moment you're like, I just can't finance this house right now, I really, 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 really want to put the maximum amount of the equity into the next house. I don't just want to put 140,000. I want the whole 200,000 to put towards the next house because I want my payment to be this much. Well, then Ribbon is going to be more of what you need.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. Let me check the chat real quick. Mhm. The bigger isn't always better, right? Especially with those taxes. Seriously, yes, I know. Taxes for sure. Yes. But mind you, let's say that you buy, you have $200,000 in equity when you sell your home, and you went and bought a $300,000 home. So now you're only financing 100,000 for 30 years, right? So those payments are pretty good. So, but it gives you opportunities. So those are just giving some answers. Um, when sometimes we need to get moving and sometimes it's just not convenient for some folks, in their lifestyle or whatever it is. Um, Anyhow, well, here's my information, guys. Again, I'm here as a mentor, realtor here with Texas United Realty. That is my contacts information. Feel free to take a screenshot, snapshot, whatever. And if you have more questions about this or just alternative ways, I'm a person that I can't stand hearing the word no. So it has forced me to find alternative ways to get people into homes. The complicated situations where they're like, I got the money, but the credit's not working, or just various different things. I have great rental history, great job history, but my credit's not so great, so there's different programs out there for different folks, and just different alternatives of ways to get into a home. Now, are they the most ideal? Are they the best scenario? No, because obviously, getting a grant with the lowest interest rate and all these great things, yes, I understand, but a lot of it is better than renting in regards to just throwing your money away completely. And sometimes I know as agents, we can get caught up on looking at those details and saying, oh, well, this may not be the best alternative for you because, for example, this has a fee. But again, if we look at, well, what is renting costing us? Well, my goodness, it's costing us 100%, right? Versus a small percentage. And we keep on moving on down the road, you know? So, let me see. I may have one more question. Okay, no. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. I super appreciate it. Um, Thank you for taking time to put towards your real estate career. Please, 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 please check out that Facebook group. Please go to the meetings. We're having meetings pretty much every other week. in person. And then we're also having, these meetings every Thursday evening. And, try and join some title companies, their Facebooks and stuff. They're always offering continuing education classes. And then you should be receiving stuff in your email from just different classes that are happening. We have our meetings as well too on Tuesdays and our contracts on Wednesdays. And so please, please, please try and get in there and get on it and all that good stuff. And do that marketing, guys. Do that marketing. This is summertime. It's hot real estate time. We finally got I'm seeing a little bit more inventory, which is freaking awesome. So go out there and do your marketing. Don't forget, put up your posts, do your social media, consider doing your open houses, do that door knocking and all that good stuff, guys. Okay. Awesome, awesome being able to see you guys.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so much.
Tanya.
Have an awesome night.
You too.